Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Their win over VCU. They get the victory 80-71. It really wasn't that close. Friend of the Aaron Torres pod, Kevin Young, gets his first NCAA tournament win. Couple things here. First of all, let me say this. You never want to take anything for granted in the NCAA tournament. And I know a lot of our friends at BYU aren't gamblers, and I totally respect that. This isn't a knock or anything. I did not understand the 3-point spread, okay? Because a couple things stand out. One, and we talked about it on the show, it was kind of set up very nicely for BYU. First of all, the last game you played was on Friday against Houston in the Big 12 tournament. It's not like you were playing bad. You had 1-9 straight coming in. It's just that Houston's awesome. So you're playing well. You lose to Houston. You then get home, get a couple nights rest. VCU, the two biggest games of their season were on Saturday and then Sunday. They had that Sunday championship game. They're probably bussing back. They get back to probably campus about 8, 9 o'clock at night. Then they got to fly out Tuesday. They got to play at altitude. And I thought the altitude really wore down VCU by the end of the game. Not to say that, BYU wasn't really good and all this and all that. But I'll tell you this. I said it the other day. When I was in Provo, was working out at the hotel gym, and like you could feel the air. It was different. You're sucking wind there, doing a little sprint on the treadmill. You're like, oh my goodness, this thing is for real. And so I just thought it was a bad matchup for VCU. By the way, the other thing, and it kind of came to fruition, we said this, even though it was Kevin Young's first NCAA tournament coaching job, I loved, by the way, his transparency about how excited he was. He went on Jim Rome's show and talked a lot about, the first NCAA tournament experience for him. But what did I say? I said, yes, it's his first NCAA tournament game, but let's not forget, it is not most of his players' first NCAA tournament game. Four, so you can see it there. 4 key players off last year's team, which, by the way, lost in the opening round to the A10 champion, ironically enough. They lose to Duquesne in the 6-11 game. So those guys had that taste in their mouth of losing in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. And I just said, I don't think that's going to happen again for BYU. And so you look at who had success on Thursday. Yes, some of it was some of the new guys, but who was it? Fus Traore, I thought, played really well off the bench. He was a guy that stayed when Mark Pope left. 13 points, 9 boards. Richie Saunders, not his best game, but the all Big 12 guy, 16 points, 3-pointer made, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. By the way, love that the Richie Saunders tater tot story is going crazy viral. No, I knew nothing about that. Yes, it's very cool. Yes, it's very interesting. But those 2 guys I thought largely carried him. By the way, you know who else was awesome? Yegor Demon was awesome. And he showed why he is going to be a very high first-round pick, a freshman in his first NCAA tournament game, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, had a few too many turnovers, but that happens in this tournament. But I just bring it up because if you're a BYU fan, I don't know how you cannot be excited, okay? Because you get the win. And what I thought was so impressive, again, Kevin Young's first time as an NCAA tournament head coach, they just look like a team that weren't phased. VCU kind of threw a couple punches early, and BYU just took them and then kind of ran away with this game. If you did not watch it, it was not as close as that final score would indicate. By the way, as you can see, for full coverage on BYU, Torres on BYU. And as I look ahead, I got to be real. Listen, you don't want to undersell what Wisconsin did to Montana. We talked a lot about it, but we just talked about it a second ago. But when you look at Wisconsin, listen, they were playing a team that they just largely outmatched. And I think Wisconsin's good, but you look at them throughout the season. John Tanji is a very good player, okay? He was, I think, a first-team All-American, depending on what you looked at. But outside of him, they don't shoot the 3 ball particularly well. They're not a very good rebounding team. They have about a 2.5 to 1 or a 1.5 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. They're a really flawed team. And so you look at BYU, that you look at what they do well, transition scoring, finishing at the rim, size in the paint. I didn't even mention Keba Keita. By the way, Keba Keita has to lead the nation in a made-up stat that I'm about to create right now called really cool-looking plays around the rim. Keita leads the nation in them because he's always throwing down crazy dunks, sick blocks. He's grabbing rebounds above his head and slamming them and basically, deflating the ball when he gets it. He had a couple missed dunks that were better than most people's made dunks. Producer Matt, who is all over college basketball this year. Producer Matt, you've learned more about college basketball than you ever thought you were going to learn. He said Keita is the Incredible Hulk, and I freaking agree. Okay, kid is insane. Transfer from Utah, and you look at this matchup coming up with Wisconsin. I don't want to undersell it. I don't want to guarantee anything because when you guarantee things in this tournament, weird stuff happens, and then somebody's sent home and they blame Torres for it. Okay, but at the same time, I really like this matchup for BYU against Wisconsin. I think they have the advantage in the paint. I think John Tanji's really good, but Mawut Mag is one of the best perimeter defenders in all of college basketball. And you look at the rest of – by the way, here's the other thing that's kind of worth noting. Richie Saunders is not going to – he had 16 points, 6 of 12 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. This is a guy that on the season – this is Richie Saunders I'm talking about – shot 43% from behind the three-point arc. So statistically, he is not going to have a game like that the rest of – maybe not the rest of the tournament, but he is not going to have a game like that on Saturday. So you have a good performance from your All-American Richie Saunders, but not great. You win this game going away. By the way, this is a team in BYU that shoots the three ball insanely well. 7 of 20 is good. It's not great. I think you could shoot the three ball better, and I think that's a best case scenario for you. You get the win. You get the little monkey off your back of Kevin Young's first NCAA tournament game. You get the monkey off your back for the guys who couldn't win that tournament game last year when Mark Pope was your head coach. Now, pressure's off. You're the 6th seed. And I think, again, we don't have BetUS TV lines just yet. We don't have point spreads for these games. But I just bring it up because, it wouldn't surprise me if BYU was favored. And even if they aren't favored, it wouldn't surprise me if they have an advantage in a lot of spots. So BYU gets the win. And I'm just very intrigued to see how they look on Saturday afternoon, because they are a team that I absolutely think could be in position to have success. By the way, we do have some point spreads. Wisconsin, a 1-point favorite in this game. So I'm here to tell you, I mean, the odds makers think that Wisconsin and BYU are basically equivalent teams. They're going to have the home court advantage for BYU. They're going to have the home court advantage in Denver, more fans. Producer Matt says Cougs by 90. So we'll see about that. If they I know it's a phrase, but producer Matt is, by the way, I mentioned on Tuesday's show when I was doing the bracket, I said, Torres has gotten a little cougar crazy this year. Don't tell the wife, but Torres is a little cougar crazy right now. Apparently producer Matt is a little cougar crazy right now too, because he said that the Cougs are going to win by 90. But listen, I like the matchup with Wisconsin. And I just I think you got the nerves out of your way. Now Kevin Young can play the nobody believes in us stuff, which is obviously not true, but can play the nobody believes in us stuff. Great win for BYU as they get the victory.